All right, so one of the, plenty of upsets this week. One of the bigger surprises I thought was the Houston Texans kind of handedly beating the Jaguars. And listen, divisional games can create some weird matchups. It's not out of the question that we didn't go into this saying that there was no chance Houston would win, but at the same time, Jacksonville was heavily favored. They were favored by over a touchdown. This is the game that people thought the Jaguars would win. They lose by 20. So what happened to Trevor Lawrence? Was this just, hey, Houston's young defensive players making plays? Was this just the team, letting Lawrence down, or did Lawrence actually make some mistakes in this one as well? I actually think a combination of the three. The first of which we'll talk about is teammates letting Lawrence down. Lawrence had some highlight reel level throws that will be forgotten due to his receivers just not making plays in this one. And it starts off with Calvin Ridley, who I did think Calvin Ridley had a tough day out there. Not to say he was bad, but just I think they expect more from Calvin Ridley, and I don't think he did what they wanted him to do in this game. And this is an example where it's going to be essentially a one-on-one matchup against a linebacker for Ridley. The way it's set up, Ridley in the slot, again, I still don't know why defenses do this. If Calvin Ridley's in the slot, he's the number one receiver. The rules are different when your number one receiver lines up in the slot. You still treat him like the number one receiver, I think. That's not how Houston is doing this. They have a linebacker on Ridley, so you gotta get a completion here. You just do. And look, as you see, Lawrence is going to take the snap. He fires down the field, and Ridley does have a step. This is actually surprisingly good defense, despite the fact that, like I said, it is a linebacker here. Again, linebackers can play good defense, and that's what's happening here. This is Blake Cashman, the fifth-round pick from several years ago. Hasn't really shown much. Has sort of bounced around, kind of trying to get playing time here. But hey, good job here. Nonetheless, this is the throw and catch that can be made. And watch this beautiful throw and a beautiful drop by Calvin Ridley. Perfect throw, right on the money. Ridley wasn't quite able to make the play. There were a couple plays where Ridley just wasn't quite able to do what I think Jacksonville was hoping he'd be able to do. It's fine. He's still a very good player. He's going to have better games. You're not expected to be great every week. I didn't think he was great in this one. And again, still made some plays. I just didn't think he was great in this one. This one was worse, in my opinion. This play was worse. That last one you can kind of say, that was still a tough play, and it was by Calvin Ridley. Surprisingly good defense by Cashman. You go over here, it's a zone coverage play, and you have a receiver who's running a route that could try to get into a gap in coverage down there, right? This is Tim Jones who's going to be running this route. So Lawrence takes the snap. He is going to look towards Jones, fires towards Jones. Defenders coming in, trying to make a play. This is not an easy throw for Lawrence to make. Again, a beautiful ball. Jones can't get his feet in bounds, and it ends up being ruled incomplete. You would have loved to see that be a completion. You just would have. And it was a good throw from Lawrence. So 100%, trying to put the blame on Lawrence is unfair, which if you're a Jaguars fan, I don't know if that makes it better or worse. It probably makes it better. That wasn't like Lawrence had a bad day. It was, guys letting him down. But also, it's still like, well, you don't want guys to let him down. You're trying to, be a real contender this year. Not just a playoff contender, but more than that. You can't have Lawrence kind of being hung out to dry out there, I think. And then there were just like a bunch of miscues, I thought, where Jacksonville just kind of kept beating themselves in a lot of ways. So starting off with this one, it's a 3rd down and 2. They're going to run the football. Okay, simple enough. We see this all the time. Watch what happens. As you see on the handoff, there's a bit of a disruption. It was almost like a botched handoff. The running back did eventually get the ball, but ended up falling down in the process, and they weren't able to pick up a first down on 3rd down and 2 because they weren't able to get that. And, I still think about, Peyton Manning used to always say, if you botch one handoff in a season, it's one too many. You shouldn't let that happen. This isn't a botched handoff in the traditional sense. It wasn't a fumble, but it still, prevented them from maintaining possession. They ended up punting on the next play. So it's like, okay, it's not a fumble. There's a field position difference, but you still lost possession due to this error. Something you can fix, but something they have to fix. This play, another example where, okay, simple play. This is once again Calvin Ridley just trying to get into a gap in coverage on the outside. Simple enough. Okay, makes sense. Get into a gap in coverage. Timing on these plays is usually important, right? Running a curl route, you want to hit your receiver. Really, you want to throw it before they even stop. So Lawrence does that. He's going to look over. He throws it before Ridley stops. The issue is I think he threw it a little bit too much before Ridley stopped. He thought Ridley was going to stop a little earlier. Ridley ran a little bit further. I don't know whose fault that is. I'm not into huddle. I can't say, sometimes you can kind of tell based on a situation. I can't here. I honestly have no idea whose fault that was. But again, got to get on the same page. These are the little things that, can cost you football games. Like, there was plenty to look at for Jacksonville. Their defense didn't play as well as you would have liked to see against a young quarterback, although Stroud's looked very good for a young quarterback. Special teams gives up a touchdown, but still, Jacksonville's offense could have done more as well. I think that's fair to say. Heading over to this one, this is another just frustrating one if you're a Jaguars fan. This is just a frustrating play because you're down just 14-0, which is, listen, we see it all the time, right? Like, I think about the Giants-Cardinals game of, team that we don't expect to win goes up early, but then kind of the team that's the better team sort of realizes, okay, now we know what we're doing. We're going to stop beating ourselves and start playing good football. For a second, it felt like Jacksonville was going to do that, although not on this play. Watch. Lawrence takes a snap. He's going to make a great throw to Calvin Ridley. They're able to get the first down. Okay, here we go. In field goal range, except there was a penalty, brought them back 5 yards. That completely ruined this type of situation. They end up punting. Just, again, a frustrating situation. And these are the kind of things you can fix if you are Jacksonville, and that's what you have to do. But going over here, I want to bring up this one as well, because all the other stuff is really fine. I mean, you don't like to see it, obviously, if you're a Jaguars fan, but it's okay. You can live with it. You're not totally upset by it, that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, you do realize it's a long season, and those are things that you can fix and do get fixed as the season progresses. This is maybe the one thing you could look at as a bit of a concern. 3rd down and 6. Houston's playing zone here. Watch as when Lawrence takes the snap, he looks down the field and doesn't love what he sees. Now, maybe he could make one of these shallower routes. I wouldn't hate that as a suggestion, to be honest. Lawrence is going to decide not to do that, though. Instead, he's going to try and scramble up. I think, probably making one of the throws more shallower would have been a better idea. But again, I still don't know if that goes for a ton of yards. I don't know if that goes for the first down. I think it would have had a better chance than him trying to scramble, though. You want to see guys get more open. You just do. I think at the end of the day, one of the things I constantly harp on this channel is if receivers aren't getting open, the quarterback's going to look worse, the offensive play calling is going to look worse. At the end of the day, receivers are what makes the engine run. You have to have receivers getting open, and if you're not having receivers getting open for enough yards to get you a first down, it's just not going to go as well, and you're going to lose football games. So, I think if this game happens again, I do think Jacksonville stands a much better chance to win it. I think Houston probably is a little better than maybe we expected them to be. Specifically, Stroud has come in and looked very good, which really helps out that team. I don't think Trevor Lawrence sucks. I don't think he had his best game either here, but I also think that the bigger issue was just the mistakes that Jacksonville kept making. I thought that was kind of the main story here. Cut down on the mistakes. Receivers start catching footballs, and Lawrence maybe gets rid of the football a little bit quicker. I think all those things, I'm not concerned about Jacksonville. They're still a very good team. Just a disappointing loss where, if you're trying to make the playoffs here, all of a sudden Indianapolis is leading the division. They're 2-1. You got Atlanta next week. Kind of feel like, and that's an interesting game because Atlanta's also coming off a tough loss. Jacksonville definitely has to feel like they're going to, they feel like they have to win that one, I think, as, we then have, Buffalo not too long after, actually the following week. So interesting stuff there. But, those are my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.